Welcome to Grow D2C. Let's begin.
Think about, say, SEO, marketing, right? These are very core, core elements of a D2C brand. So many founders, when we talk to, they're confused whether it should be outsourced or it should be implemented in house. How do you think about that? What are your views on that?
I guess it goes back to that resource mapping.
Yeah.
That resource mapping isn't purely a financial exercise. It's also a human resource exercise, and thinking about what skills do you have, what skills are you able to build in early or acquire early in your journey. For us, we were very clear that there are certain functions that we'd like to outsource just because they're not part of our skill set, they're not part of our expertise. I think some of the back-end process, like accounting and stuff, you can always outsource. But I think you asked more about SEO and marketing, which is a tricky one. SEO is, the ROI is not very clear initially. So sometimes, it's something you have to do to bring your organic traffic, to, have your website hygiene looked into. Those things, I feel, are an individual business is goal. For us, I think performance marketing was something that I have looked into in the past in previous organizations. It's something that I felt comfortable building into our own organization. However, that is something that I wanted to de-leverage from as well. So we've explored all kinds of ways of working with internal resources, but external resources. But I do think it's something that's so integral to a company's growth that regardless of whether you do it in-house or outsourced, you should have adequate knowledge about this. Okay. Otherwise, you will be taken for a ride in some way or the other, or you won't have the active inputs required to optimize it because it's a continuously dynamic function of the organization, and sometimes inexplicable due to external factors. So I think if regardless of whether you should do it in-house or outsourced, because it also depends so much on the agency and who's actually the one executing it, what terms of business have you agreed to, you should have some exposure to those skills or to the acumen required to succeed in performance marketing. SEO may not be that important if you are, or may not be that wise if you are spread thin on resources, which I would say most D2C brands are initially before they get funding or whatever. But definitely the resource mapping exercise will allow you to identify what you want to outsource. Correct. Regardless of which, you should have some kind of upskilling as a founder or with your founding team on knowing what these levers are for growth, what these channels mean to your organization at the stage, and take a call after that.
Got it. So to summarize, Arjun, what I can understand is it's more around the situation. If you are good at performance marketing, better do it in-house, or if you are low on resources, try to do outsource it. But at some point of time, it has to be in-house. Is it like that? Like at some point of time, you would want them to be in-house because these are fundamental elements.
Look, I actually don't think it needs to be in-house as a principle. Okay. I think your team should be aware of what this is, as it's such an integral part to your company's growth. So when you develop those skills, you will realize what is a good fit for you at what scale. There might be some agencies that have specialized in working with really large brands, and they'll tell you that, working with us, we can guarantee you a ROAS of 2.8, which works for your unit economics really well. You have your product market fit established. You have all these things in place. Work with us. We work with all these different brands. It's going to be fine. Yeah. Most often, bigger agencies are going to tell you similar things and kind of make the arrangement very transactional, that this is what we can do. Yeah. But often you will realize that it's not as simple, because any performance marketing agency that comes on board and tells you that this is a ROAS you can get without asking you or without playing ringside with you, or being ringside with you to understand the kind of inventory you have, the seasonality of the inventory, they're not going to be able to do those things, because this is increasingly a direct cost as opposed to an indirect cost now. But that's all boring technicals. At I just think that you should be careful about who you work with, what they are able to do for brands that are similar to yours. Have they worked with similar brands in that sector? What mistakes they made in that case. So until you know all those things and you don't know performance marketing yourself, you should at some point invest in your own upskilling, either for you as a founder or for your own founding team that needs these resources, because you're going to have to keep an agency in check, to have interesting questions to ask, to play devil's advocate, and to kind of ensure that such an important part of your distribution is not blindly given to somebody else. That being said, some businesses, they're so good at, take a use case, a beauty personal care brand has a limited number of SKUs, has mastered its packaging and branding, already has a pull and the community loves the product, has their reviews on the website. For them, a performance marketing agency might just slot in perfectly, do the standard, take great creators, put them on Facebook, and it works out wonderfully, or whichever channels are on. So you're going to have people tell you all kinds of things, but it depends so much on your internal capabilities, your design strength. All these things really matter.
Got it. So even outsourcing, it has to be done with right set of question from an agency, and upskilling is also a part of the team process that has to be implemented.
I believe so.
Got it. And